What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Artful Chiropractor Podcast. My name is Dr. Ray Daniels, and I'm excited for this one. I spliced a few of the interviews that I did at the Artful Convention 2018 together, and I've been trying to do this for quite a while. It was a little project that I've been meaning to do relatively shortly after the Artful Convention, so yes, it has been a long time, but better late than never. In this podcast, I've got a short snippet of an interview with Dr. Devin Vrana, Dr. Josh Kaya, Dr. Marvin Talski, Dr. Michael B. Dibley, and Shauna Harrison, a few of the guests from the Artful Convention that were speaking, and I was lucky enough to get an interview with them either after their talk or before it for Dr. Marvin Talski's sake. But anyways, I hope you enjoy this, switching it up on you. So without further ado, welcome to the podcast and enjoy. All right, what's going on, everybody? I'm here with Dr. Devin Vrana, who absolutely led it off this morning.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was such a powerful talk, and I'm just so grateful that you got to be here. For our listeners who haven't got to hear Dr. Devin Vrana, she's on the podcast earlier on. Crushed it, one of the most listened to episodes, and we had so much amazing feedback.
That was a beautiful conversation.
That really was.
I normally never listen to anything of mine back. That freaks me out. But it was just so genuine and went places and spaces that I didn't expect. It was great.
Yeah,
so thank you.
Yeah, likewise.
Yeah.
It was so cool. My doc from back home, Dr. Rick Swecker, he was a big mentor of mine, obviously got me into school, and he listens to a lot of the podcasts, and he's like, wow, that one with Dr. Devin Vrana, he's like, I listened to it twice. It was just so powerful. Even a doc in the field, you know, where a lot of our listeners are students, but like more and more docs too.
Leaning in, they want what you guys have.
Yes.
I mean, you're leading us. That's what I said up there today was the push from the students. You guys are so passionate and so bright that the docs, it's like we have to keep up with the bar you guys are raising. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what has been, I guess, your expectation coming into this weekend, and maybe why you decided to be one of the artists that led the show?
So, Brett, I was out at the lake with my kids, and he texted me, hey, I really need to talk to you. This was right after Focus last year. And it was one of those calls that, like, you just know something really great's going to come out of it. And he was like, so I'm doing this thing. Will you go? And I did not hesitate. I mean, you could ask him. It was like, yep. And he's like, well, do you need to, like, talk to Joey or look up any dates or figure out any details? And it's just one of those things that, for me, when chiropractic calls and asks me to be somewhere, I'm generally going to say yes, especially if it just feels right. And his mission and what you guys are doing is so powerful. Yeah, I'm all in, you know? So we jumped in, and expectation-wise, I've tried really hard not to have any. Even when he's released stuff, I didn't, just wanted to unfold with it.
Yeah.
That's been really important, even in last night with the breaths.
Right.
And listening and watching people who maybe this is their first time with any of this type of heart space work.
Yeah.
They're just falling into it, but it's the trust that he's created in that space. That doesn't just happen.
No, I mean, there was some deep stuff that went down, and part of me was like uncomfortable a little bit for people, and I'm like, no, I think this is what they need.
Yeah.
And it was such a safe space for it.
Because, you know, if they go there, they come out, you know what happens on the other side of that. So it's just been great. And then he actually called me, I don't know when it was, maybe a month ago, and he's like, so I had this vision, and I need you to open it. And I need you to tear away the limitations and just get people out of their heads. Can you do that? Yeah, you know. And so I've been really anxious. I don't typically get nervous. I kind of turn it over to innate and see what comes out of it. But this one I was anxious about because I knew the vibration of the room and I didn't want to let it down.
Right.
So it's interesting about this morning because I said, hey, can you get my PowerPoint? And he's like, we don't have a PowerPoint for you.
Oh,
and I was
I saw that.
Yeah,
and then I was like,
there was
nothing else that came.
Yeah, no. And there were no words or anything, but there were some pictures that I was going to use as this journey.
Right.
And so I had a moment up there that just went, nah, you know, I mean, I guess universe didn't, you know, that wasn't the right time or space. So I just trust my voice
That's so crazy because no one. There was a moment where I noticed that, but then like I totally didn't even think twice about it. And you're up there like,
winging it.
Okay, I'm gonna bring it now.
Winging it, which just makes me trust my innate more because sometimes when you follow the PowerPoint, you follow the plan, you're in mind. You're thinking about it. And when I was up there looking out, I would catch different people and different connections just in that moment.
Right.
And it's like, go here. So it was cool. It worked out really good.
That's so powerful. Yeah. I know something that you said too in the very beginning was like, this weekend you're going to hear things that might not be what you're used to hearing, and instead of running or having that judgment, you're like, lean into it. Yeah. And that was like so powerful for me to hear, because so many of the artists speaking, and I mean, there's way different views on the adjustment or how you do the adjustment or just interactions, but it's just like honoring the differences in each of us and like and how we express and then what we can come together on. Yeah. I just feel like our profession has missed that so much. Regardless of what you do, it's like our brothers and sisters. It's
a reflection of where we've been leadership wise, because and just I read the little piece from the Tao of polarity, but that's a human thing that we do in comparison, and that's the right or wrong. And chiropractors are just, I think, out of really great intent to preserve how beautiful our philosophy is.
Right.
We start stepping all over people, and it crushes the potential. Yeah. And that's, again, throwing to the ninjas and that whole culture movement.
Yeah.
That time's over. Yeah. And now we belong everywhere. We belong to innate. And so just listening and respecting.
Definitely. And when you can come to the table with a genuine curiosity about what the other person does, you get to hear why they do it, like what needs they're trying to fill, like Dr. Lance was talking about. Everyone's just trying to do their best.
Right.
And then when you have that safe space, you can tell me what you do and why you do it, and then I can tell you, and then we can learn from each other.
That's the only way the light grows.
Right.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah. And something that I really resonated with your talk, you gave us a visualization of like our warriors, like our strengths, and then you brought up the dragons, and I was just like, okay, I was laying there on my back thinking about it. I'm like, where's she going to go with this? Because I thought we were going to like attack our, our dragons and our weaknesses, and then yet you were like, lean into them.
Yeah.
And it was like so powerful for me to just recognize what those are and then use those to guide you in your life, and that's what you're going to connect so deeply with people on. So I'd love for you to maybe expand on that a little bit.
Well, I think that in what Brett had asked me to do with limitations, and the only prison I guess that we're ever in is the one we put on ourselves. So I spent a lot of time being angry or frustrated through school or coming out of school about well, they told me I'm too short or I'm too weak, and I was blaming everyone else instead of just owning it doesn't matter what anyone said. Like, I have to find my own way through this thing. So what's real? Am I short? Yeah. Am I a woman? Yeah. Am I little? Yeah. But does that mean that I can't? No. And so what do I, you connect with, what do I want my practice to look like? And then you make your technique match that, regardless of your limitations. And so I actually just went to Tony Robbins' Date with Destiny. And
that's amazing.
So intense. I highly recommend anybody that gets a chance, go do it. But he crushes people through that. And just in the breath last night, and Lance talking about just like me, this person is just like me. There's really nothing, there's no dragon that any of us feel like we are, but that, the other person right beside us isn't going through their own thing. So, just rise to the occasion.
Exactly. For our action steps, like this year with the podcast, we're really trying to get action steps and maybe even shorter episodes. I mean, this will be a pretty short episode, but what would you say for someone like tomorrow, what they could do in terms of like leaning into their dragons, their weaknesses, owning their warriors for their strengths? Did you like take time throughout your day to like reflect, or what did that process look like for you to really come into your own and kind of lean into those?
So I have 5 kids, and we have 2 practices. I opened a little spot next to it. I'm doing a lot of speaking, so there's the time crunch. But for me, it's that switch. It's the light switch of turning off my brain and going into my heart.
Right.
And so I really believe that because there's an overabundance of information, whether that's within chiropractic or just in the world in general,
right.
that tool that we're building, this muscle that we're building together this weekend of being able to go, no, my truth is here. Yeah. And then you just go. It's just the next step, like he was saying. You know, that was beautiful. But you don't worry about the whole race. You just, this is where I'm at. That's what I want it to look like. What's the next step? And you make the switch, but knowing that you need to lead from here.
Right.
And then you don't fail, because that's innate's calling.
I love it. It's beautiful. Welcome to the Artful Convention with Dr. Josh Kaya, day 2. How's it going, brother?
Day 2? Is this day 3 technically? It's
Technically
Sunday.
day 3.
You know, welcome to it. It's nice and early for you, I understand.
Yes. 6:45 right now?
Sounds good to me.
Yeah.
I trust you. What is time, right?
Exactly. Oh, we're getting into it. So, Dr. Josh, what were your expectations coming into this weekend? Came all the way from the Virgin Islands. Many of our listeners have heard your episode, and if those of you who haven't heard it, go back, check it out in the teens somewhere, I think, somewhere early on.
So what are my expectations? You know, to go life through without any expectations. No, I mean, knowing Dr. Brett Jones, knowing him for years, I anticipated that it was going to be something special. That's for certain. You never know exactly what you're going to get with Dr. Brett Jones, but you know it's going to be something special. And hands down, it's what happens, something special. And I think there's been so many gems, so much amazement that I've gained here. I was excited. I didn't know I was speaking at first. I just knew that I was going. To me, that's what it was. And then it ended up, cool, being asked to speak and honor. And I'm like, how am I going to be on stage with those people? Those are, Tulski, Rossi, Tremaine, all of these people. The years of experience, so yeah, I'm just a student. I'm just excited to be here in my mind. So
yeah, getting to see your speech too. Like when you get on the stage, it seems such a natural place for you, and I don't think you speak a ton yet. In your communities, I imagine, but on the stage yesterday, I was like, wow, I don't know how much you prepared for it or what that looked like, but just golden nuggets left and right. Starting off with your, experience in the Virgin Islands and what you went through. Oh, what's up, Dr. Brett
Jones? Having the dance party right there, letting us know that he's here for good.
But just share a little bit of your experience. I know we won't have time to go through the entire story, but you went through some major struggles, I would say. But your outlook on the whole thing is different than what most people would have had that experience.
Yeah, again, we choose our perception. We choose it. It's a choice. So if your perception is that life is a struggle, I have to be a warrior to go through everything, then everything's viewed as a struggle. Does that mean that you don't have moments of hard times and it's not okay to admit that? There was times, don't get me wrong, where it's extreme frustration, lugging a generator out into the bush, hot as could possibly be. You just want to flush your toilet because you can't flush a toilet without a generator running.
And to give everyone some context,
the generator breaks down in the middle of it. And this is a month and a half in after the day where you just electrocuted yourself with the generator by accident. And so, yeah, are there moments of frustration? Yeah, but at the same time, it's okay, what do I do next? That's if you just keep asking, what is the next step that I have to take in order to get there, then it becomes easy.
Right.
Yeah. So for those of you listening, the Virgin Islands as well as Puerto Rico and a lot of the Caribbean, including upward to Florida, this past hurricane season went through some difficulties, went through some traumas with a few hurricanes, actually. Hurricane Irma, Jose, Maria, and for Hurricane Maria, that's the one that vastly affected St. Croix. And the people, though, I'll put it this way, they say, we're not destroyed, we're just remodeling. So St. Croix is not destroyed, we're just remodeling. And it's been so amazing to see the people there. I'll put it this way. We just got power last week. The linemen have been there working from stateside nonstop for 4 months now, right? and they said, we can't believe how nice everyone is. They're inviting us to our homes for Christmas. They're inviting us to our home just for dinner. They give us things just because they're so grateful for it. So anywhere else that they've gone, it's about 12 hours without power before people get pissed off. And we're talking 4 months. So and there's still plenty of people. I know Puerto Rico still doesn't have a lot of power as well. So that's a whole different situation. But yeah, so going through that, but it's a choice. I could choose to view it as a continual struggle, or I can choose to see there are people in struggle. How can I help elevate them in this consciousness to better elevate the field of the island as a whole so that we can rebuild stronger?
Yeah. And you mentioned, like, the second you guys were, I guess, safe in an aspect, you went out and gave free care for I don't know how long, but just to reconnect the community.
So we went
so amazing
out to give free care, but we also invited all our people in to the office for free care as soon as we could. I mean, we couldn't open up the office for the first 2 weeks, really. There was just, things. As much as our roof stayed on, there was still enough destruction in there where it took us some time to clean up, as well as just, life together. But once we could, we were definitely out there. We were out there before, too, for the pre-one to really, again, it's just, how can we help? That's what it is. How can we help people connect back to themselves so that they can connect back to their environment, back to their friends or loved ones, and really be more.
Right.
Be more.
And to be able to, like, hold that that desire to help people in that moment, like, I mean, you're thinking of your business and, like, finances and all that, and yet you go out there and you're like, all right, I got to serve my community from a place of abundance, and everything else is going to work out.
Yeah, and to be honest, you're thinking of your business, your finances. That didn't hit me much.
Yeah.
To be honest, it was just, that will come. I'm not even worried about that right now. When you see, like, first and foremost, who's hurt.
Yeah.
Like, who's in dire need right now. Secondly, who's extremely hurt afterwards from all of the recovery things that they've been doing, and how can we help them? And it's like, I mean, you've heard many people say it here, just give. And the more that you give, the more that you receive. And it's just the continual law. That's all there is. Give, and try to enjoy the moment while doing it.
Yeah. And you mentioned in that community, too, it's so different from, the U.S. in a lot of aspects. You go down to the post office and every single person is just saying hi to you and just looking at you in the eyes, and that's rare here. I mean, I like to think we're moving in the right direction, but to hear you talk about it, I'm like, wow, to be in a community where everyone is just like that.
Last night I was walking down the street. I was just putting something in the car in Oakland, and I was walking down, and I said good night to someone, because that's what they say there. It's just automatic. Like, it's like considered rude if you don't say good night, good morning, good day. They don't say good evening. It's good night, which is always weird. They walk into your office, good night, and like, oh yeah, good night. There we go. It took me a bit on that one, but from that though, I said good night to this person. They looked at me like I was crazy. I was just like, oh yeah. You're not used to open communication with the individuals who you pass by. That's right. I forgot. That's why I'm not here anymore. Yeah, I had some fun with that.
Fair.
Yeah, some fun with that.
Cool. So transitioning a little bit into, the heart of your talk, obviously taking the next step for me was so huge, and that perception around what we go through. I mean, a lot of speakers within the profession talk about this grind, and it has to be difficult, and you're just going to, pedal to the metal till you get to a point, and it's just like, it doesn't necessarily have to be like that.
Right. And I don't think that's just this profession. I think that's the consciousness of our society. We're very much in that warrior consciousness. You listen to all the motivational speakers. You listen to most of them are saying that you're a warrior. You must pursue through. You must push through. You got to rise and grind and effort. And it's not that that's not true. The truth of that is, how can you do that from a state of ease? Because if you view everything as hard work, it's going to always be hard work.
Right.
Can you do the same amount of work from a state of ease and not consider it hard work? Because don't get me wrong, I'm out there and I'm grinding and I'm have sleepless nights and I'm giving talks till late at night and waking up early in the morning, going to a different event to do. I mean, I'm grinding. But to me, I'm having fun. You know, it's the consciousness of I don't go to work, I go to play.
Right.
And that's if you really look at it too, in nature, think about puppies. Think about big lions. They learn to fight through play. They learn the grind through play, and they love it. They're enjoying it. And I think that could really alter our society as a whole if we begin to say, okay, how can we do this from a state of ease? Yeah, in school-wise, I know many of you are students out there.
Yep.
In school, yeah, part 4, part 2, part 1, like test all the same time. How am I going to balance clinic with this? Is it a grind? Yeah. And was I perfect at that point in time, realizing this? No, I was in states of grind. But did I have moments where I was like, can I make this easy? How can I facilitate more ease within this? And, most of the time I was able to find that if I just looked at it from that view.
Right. And what inspired that perspective, I guess? So a lot of our listeners, I imagine, are like, all right, I like this, but my paradigm right now, my state of consciousness is not that. How can we give them some...
I think a lot of this honestly came from my father. So my father, born and raised in Israel, was in the Israeli army for 8 years during a time of war. The time of war when war was war,
Right.
But what I mean by that is there's a lot more ground than at that point in comparison to all the air strikes and drones now to where, someone's in Texas. Anyway, we don't need to get into that.
Yep.
But his consciousness is he used to have people, complain to him in his place of business, and he would just start laughing. I'd be like, you think that's a problem? You think that's a problem, dude? You don't know what a problem is if you think that's it's just about this mundane stuff. And it's like,
right.
Oh, I have to take part 4 boards. Oh, and I also have another test, and I have this. It's like, really? Like, you're in a doctorate program. Yeah, there's going to be some struggle, but in comparison to where other people are in different places of the world, and like you have food on your plate, you have clothes. As I like to say, this is what I say in my practice to everyone. My favorite mental switch for a positive mental attitude is to change and switch all of your have-tos to get-to. I have to do the dishes. I hate that. Oh, I have to study for this test. I hate that. Oh, I have to, put the clothes in the washer or the dryer. I hate that. When in reality, it's I get to do the dishes. Do you know how many people don't have food to put on a plate, let alone a plate?
Right.
I get to study for this test. Do you know how many people don't even have the opportunity to get to a doctorate program?
And never will.
And never will, yeah, just because of this, I imagine there's many villages out there, they might even have a better life, but there's many different places in the world who are war-ridden right now.
Yep.
And they don't, or the struggle that they would have to take to get there. And that, to me, is like, all right, that state of gratitude. I'm grateful I get to take this test right now. I'm grateful I have the ability to even study for this because I don't have kids that I'm pushing through at the same time. Like how many of our classmates had kids at the same time while trying to raise
I know.
For all you mothers and fathers out there, I have no idea how you do that with school.
Right.
And that's still on the lower level. And then
and then running a practice right after that.
It's like okay, just come from that state of love and ease and laughter. And enjoy it.
Right. And along those same lines, I get to, or I choose to.
Yeah.
I think about that some of the times when I would fall into that category. I'm just like, no, I'm choosing this right now. Yeah. And it's just like, it puts the responsibility on you. Right. It's just like, you really don't want to do this? Then
don't. If you don't want to do that, then don't. You're choosing to do that. If you don't want the goal of that, then don't do it. But if you want that goal, then you have to take these steps, and that's the next question. Take the next step. What's the next step? If the next step to get my degree is part 1 boards, all right, let's do part 1 boards. The next step is, getting my license. Okay, what steps do I need to take? But it's really it's a linear process in our society.
Yeah.
And you just have to figure out that linear process. Here's the end goal. Here's where I am. What steps do I need to take to get there?
Yeah.
And as long as you do that, you can do it from a state of, I'm going to grind. Or you can do it from a state of, how easy can I make this in order to get that and enjoy it while I'm in the process?
Right. All right, a little segue into our final part of this conversation.
Oh, it's ending so soon?
It is ending soon. I'm hearing a bunch of people getting ready. I mean, we've got a movement sesh coming up.
I know.
But think your title of your talk was like the brutal art of unwashing your brain, kind of reprogramming yourself, and such a huge, I think, responsibility of everyone is to just rethink about or go look at their programs and like where they came from, and then just do that work, I guess, of maybe seeing where your beliefs come from and be like, are they your own? Like, do you want those? Do they still serve you? Maybe talk about that process a little bit. And then I would like to see like maybe the daily work or the work that you've done in relation to that.
Yeah. So on that, the irony of the brutal art, right? Because I do have to appreciate that moment. So that was Dr. Brett who wanted it to be the brutal art. I was like, all right, I'll take that, because of the fact that the brutalest part about it, and I realized that coming through everything with the lens of ease and joy and happiness is not an easy task. That is the brutalness of it in its own. So there is an irony within there. I realized that's the brutal part, viewing it from that perspective. So that's the first portion of it. Yeah. And what is the programming that you do is first, exactly like you said, take that deep look in and really analyze. It's like go through every aspect of your life and categorize it into, okay, so what beliefs do I have from my parents when it comes to finances? What beliefs do I have when it comes to reality, to time? What about school? What did they taught me in school? Do I hold those same beliefs? Are those up to my values? And as we've talked a lot about in the Artful Convention, we all have that inner ticker, right? We all have that innate guidance system. And if we question it, we just question, do I believe this to be true? You hold that for a moment, and you almost always get a yes or a no. Sometimes you get a maybe. That's very rare. I don't know, which normally means there's a half-truth in there. There's a partial, but you don't understand it fully.
Yep.
And then from there, it's like, okay, if I don't believe this, well, then what do I believe? Now I'm forced to change that. Like if you were grown thinking finances are a struggle to get, you have to work really hard for them because that's what you've been taught, it's a grind, same sort of thing, then now that's going to be your process. Right? I'm always going to struggle with finances. If that doesn't ring true to you, how can you cut through that? So what is the daily process? So that's something that I do often, where I just think.
Because it could take up to,
you can go through everything.
Yeah, and how many years it took to get to this point.
Completely. Yeah. And that's where it's going through literally daily. I try to go through at least one thing of, okay, what doesn't ring true for me? Where in my life, if I look at this, and then re-question it. It's not like, okay, up to this moment, but every moment's a new moment. So today I might be like, I just learned something completely different today that contradicts what I was talking about yesterday. And that's okay because that's growth.
Right. I love that.
From there, it is, the breath work, the meditations, the thought process of how can I become back to that unwashing. So part of the reason why it's unwashing is really because I view it as a Control-Alt-Delete. Delete all programs, starting fresh and rebuilding. And how can we really just cleanse that system to come back to that core essence of who you are? And that is a daily moment-by-moment process, every moment checking in. I think nonviolent communication is a way of doing that. I think neurolinguistic programming is a way of doing that. It's cold showers, hot showers, getting, all of that, cold plunges, holding your breath. It's all pushing yourself to that limit of what did you think you were capable of, and how can you become more than that? So that's really the process. But, and it's being spontaneous with it. Yeah, I've talked about that, I think, with you before. I used to be very rigid within my routine. This is what I have to do in order to do this. Yep. And then my new routine is wake up. What do I want to do in this moment? If it is the meditation, if it is those things, awesome. If it's not, okay, what else do I want to do? Sometimes I don't want to in that moment, and I think if I'm not truly wanting to, it's not going to serve me. Because what benefit am I going to get out of it if I'm hating doing it while I'm doing it?
Yeah, so I like that perspective. That's different.
Process.
Yeah. A lot of people would be like, stick to the morning routine no matter what, but it's just like honoring what you're feeling in that moment.
And I'm not Tony Robbins, who probably does stick to that morning routine.
Yeah.
Could I be happy with who I am in the moment for that and completely satisfied? Yeah. So maybe don't follow me if you want to be extremely successful or something, but just happy with life.
All right. Another thing dropped in really quick. You talked about the rat study. That was, I'll try and articulate it, but basically they put the rats through this.
So this was a famous study
explain that a little bit.
back in the day that they did. They wanted to see if they could teach rats how to do a maze.
Yeah.
Right? And so it took a rat, they put like food at one end and, a reward at one end, and saw, okay, they put a rat through, and then they put it through a second time, a third time, see how many times it took to decrease it. And it did slowly, or decrease the time that it took to get there. Instead of 15 wrong turns, they took 8.
Yep.
And then they're like, okay, so we did that with one rat. Let's breed these rats, and what's going to happen to their next generation? And so the next generation started right about where the parents left off, and then also improved. I'm like, wow, that's amazing, genetics.
Yay.
And then they dropped the study, and then about 30 years later, they did the same study. They wanted to retest it across the world, and they started these rats, happened to start at the same exact place that the other ones left off, even though there was no family connection, no historic anything between them, minus the fact that they were both rats. And in the same way that calculus was invented at the same time by two different people, in the same way that a lot of these synchronicities happen, there's a field of energy that is out there, and it is information. I don't understand it fully. I never will claim to understand it fully. I'm okay with that. I just do have an understanding that it's out there. It's palpable. It's testable. Rupert Sheldrake has like 1,000 studies that he goes through to prove this. Double blind, statistically significant to prove it to the man that, because these things exist.
Right.
And then we have to prove it. But anyway.
Like you mentioned, on that note, really quick, it's like before science proved it, it happened.
Right. Before science proved it, it was happening. It's like before science proved that, ice is hard. Ice was hard. Like, all these things. Before science proved that your heart is beating. Like, we didn't know that. But, we know that the heart's supposed to be between this and this rate. It was doing that before it.
Right. I always think about that, too, sometimes. If you wait for science to prove something, it's like you're so far behind.
Completely. And that's why I think so much of our society is behind, because those who are truthfully only evidence-based, that to me is limiting so much potential. Because just because we're not sure of it yet doesn't mean that it hasn't had so much validation, even within individualistic basis. So you could tell me 1,000 people have had this experience and it's been positive, but because it's not in a study, it's not valid.
Right.
And if you really want to take statistically based, okay, let's talk about medications. Let's talk about the success rate of diagnosis. Medical doctors would have a 33% success rate of diagnosis. That's statistically it's medication. They're just happy if there's 35% success rate, and it's okay, and that's proven.
Yeah, it's so interesting how they take that.
Okay, so if that's what your proven is, I hear you, I get it, but that doesn't mean that's all that there is when there's so much evidence of people who have spontaneously healed.
Yeah.
Or people who the doctor said, well, you have cancer, you have 2 weeks to live, and there's no chance of survival. And then they just move. And that's it, we're in my last 2 weeks, I'm going to do this, and then live for 40 years. Okay.
Right.
So,
you can't discredit that experience.
It's it wasn't scientifically studied, so
throwing that one out.
Throwing that one out. Doesn't count. I know many people have healed like this, but no, not in our. And it's not in our paradigm.
Right.
It's because it challenges our beliefs. It challenges what we know. It challenges our core values. Because then, if that is possible, think about it. If that is possible to that individual, then how much of what that person's been working on their entire life becomes questioned. If that is possible, that someone could just heal spontaneously like that, and these are medical doctors or anyone else who's been chiropractors who have been trying so hard, and everything they've studied, everything they've learned has brought them in a different direction. Now, all of their value systems are challenged, all of their belief systems are challenged, and that's where I think we get that fight or flight response. That anger, aggression towards it. Oh, that's not off. And it's okay, I hear you. I invite you to push beyond that. And again, question all that. normally when you're in a state of anger, it's something like that. That's what I found.
It's a good time to reflect.
It's a good time to reflect, because anger, as the Buddha said, is like holding on to a hot coal and expecting the other person to get burned.
Right.
And when you're feeling that, that's exactly what it is. It's like you're angry. Almost always, what I found when I check in when I'm angry, I'm doing something that is not in line with my values. And that's where it ends up.
And that's where it is. All right, Dr. Josh, I really enjoyed this. Same place our listeners can reach out to you. Kind of, where's the best place? I forget exactly what you told us, but
to reach out to me? Oh, yeah, you can reach out to me on Facebook, Josh Kaya, Caya, or Dr. Josh Kaya. At Facebook, I don't know, at facebook.com. How does this work these days? I'm not technologically advanced. This is like the most advanced thing I've ever seen. So
sounds good.
So you can do that. Email drjoshkaya@gmail.com. Talk to this guy.
I can hook you up with him.
Yeah.
So, all right, we've covered a lot. Is there any final requests of our audience or suggestions?
I request you look within. I request you look within and really start to question, how much more joy can I bring in this moment?
Love it. Thank you, brother.
You're welcome. Thank
Peace.
you. Have a good one.
Let's do it. What's up, everyone?
What's up, everybody?
Dr. Michael B. Dibley here at the Artful Convention 2018. Finally getting to sit down with you a little bit.
It's good to be with you, man. It's good to be with you. Which episode was it that I was on with you?
I want to say 16.
16 it was?
I think.
Yeah,
and
well,
if any of our listeners haven't checked it out, you have to go right now, listen to this. And then, yeah, man, you just crushed it this afternoon.
Oh, thank you. Did you enjoy?
I loved it, man. That's
Thank
my
you.
first time I got to see you talk live,
Awesome.
so I'm super stoked about that.
Awesome.
But real quick, what were you expecting coming into this weekend?
Well,
and
okay, so thank you first and foremost for having me on. Thanks for your warm and kind words. What I was expecting was excellence, because that's what I've experienced before. And like I said in my talk, my first exposure to the Kairos training culture, ninjas and this whole movement, it was when I started to guide them on mission trips and see the absolute difference in quality of the adjustment. So that's what brought me into it. And then we had, as most of you guys know out there that follow us on social media and Facebook, we had Dr. Brett Jones, and we had Dr. David Ritis over at 360 in Norway. Mm-hmm. And it's just a perfect symbiosis, right? I mean, this is the training culture in chiropractic right now, that if you want to become an amazing, amazing adjuster and get really, really connected, there's no other question about it. You got to join it. You got to be a part of it. Done deal. So what I expected was excellence, and what I've experienced has been excellent.
And like you said, I'm so excited just to collaborate. And like you said,
Me too.
That's something that this profession just hasn't done. I mean, You're creating a massive movement. Kairos is creating a massive movement, and what we can do together is so much more powerful.
Oh, dude. I mean, it's been said. You've heard it several times from several of the speakers here. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And I just see it as a completely congruent. You can even see it in our logos, right? Like the logo behind us and here.
Yep.
And just the reverence for universal intelligence is really what that is. It's not an educated mind or an educated concept. It's not called, Daniel's chiropractic or Dibley chiropractic. It's the human potential movement. It's Kairos. It's calling upon and aligning ourselves with universal law. And when we do that and collaborate and be symbiotic, we win. Everybody needs it. I don't care who we're talking about. Everybody needs what we have.
Right.
We got to be able to influence them and get them to understand how important it is to live the clear and connected life, as we say.
Yep, and you just mentioned influence. I want to come back to that a little bit.
We will,
but something that I really loved is that magical formula. Thoughts plus vision plus action equals results.
Yeah, it
that
is
stuck
magic.
with me big time.
It is
and
magical.
That's a huge takeaway for our listeners, especially the people who are not here to see you speak.
Yeah.
I mean, that's something they can take home and maybe expand on that just a little bit and how we need to integrate each one of those.
Yeah, absolutely. So, okay, I always say, if I've done any ideas that didn't work out or were bad ideas, it's because of my educated mind. If I've done anything to a genius level, it's because I got my mind out of the way and I let innate come through. And that was one of them, is I realized there's so many people in my life that had a great thought, right? Or they had a great vision. They're the kind of people that are always in the clouds and always have an idea and a business idea, or people that always work really hard but always come up short. And I thought, you know what? You got to have thought, inspired thinking. You got to have a vision for the thought. Where are you going to take it? And you got to actually have the action to back those two things up and take it to market. So it was like, and then boom, you have the results. So it's T plus V plus A equals R, and every single time you can apply that to your chiropractic practice. If you're an entrepreneur out there, you can apply it to being an entrepreneur, running a business, motherhood, fatherhood. But you gotta integrate thought plus vision plus action if you want to get the results. Period.
Yeah, and speaking of that integration, what does that process look like for you and for our listeners who are just starting this journey?
Yeah.
It's just like, because if you don't integrate each one along the way, you
Right.
can get stuck.
Right.
you know?
Well, you guys got a lot of opportunities here, both in the 360 group, the Human Potential Movement, and also the Kairos training culture. There's so many more connections going on right now. You said it earlier, and that's a big part of it. Holding each other accountable, right? But first, get really clear on what you want to create. And if I would say to all those people that are watching this or listening to this, or will listen to it from around the world, is you got to get clear on what you want and what you want to create. Right? Because that's going to dictate what happens. So you got to get clear first. You got to get clear. How do you get clear? Well, make sure you have an amazing chiropractor who you're going to on a regular basis, making sure your central hard drive, your operating system, is clear. Okay, that's number one. Number two, make sure you have a great tribe, a great network of people around you. Right? Number three, make sure you're putting the best nutrition possible into your system. Water. One of my secret weapons is saunas. Taking a sauna, getting hot, getting sweaty. Put yourself in different states. Right? And also, if you're around people where you're the smartest person in the room, you need to find a new group. Period. So it's just constantly pushing, breaking through ceilings, and that's the reason we're on the planet, is to experience our human potential. We're not here to be mediocre. We're here to be excellent.
Exactly. And speaking of being excellent, we all need to be able to have that influence, right? We can have all this information and all these different outside influences, but we have to be able to move people, like you said today on the stage, and that really hit home for me. Because you can have all the information, but it's like if you can't move people in that direction, what are you doing?
Word. So, inform to transform. Brad Glowacki talks a lot about that. That's a Cialdini concept. For all you guys out there that want to learn how to influence, I would say research more Cialdini. If you do book on tape, do book on tape. But yeah, you got to be able to move people. If you're a car salesman, you can't just have people come on the lot and look at the car. You got to influence them into the right decision for them and drive away, or else they're not going to be able to experience what you have to offer. Same thing with chiropractic. If people have, what we have is IV, infinite value. What we do is IV. It's absolutely beyond any sort of market value. How much is it worth that someone gets their life back? It's beyond money. It's beyond a thing. Right. So when we're dealing with that level of value, infinite value, then we have to understand we got to become very good at communicating that to our public so they too can experience the benefits and the joys. And as you both you and I know, the clear and connected life. You got to learn to influence. And how do you learn to influence? Well, I'd say find a mentor, or mentors plural, that are already doing it. Hang out with them. Pay them whatever it costs to be around them. I have a big mastermind group, so if anybody's interested in that, please send me a message. The 360 Global Mastermind, you can become an ambassador. Nice. All those people in that group, we talk about how to influence. And in that group, we have more non-chiropractors than chiropractors. Why? Because traditionally, that's why B.J. Palmer loved P.T. Barnum. Did you know that? Mm-mm. So B.J. Palmer, one of his best buddies, was P.T. Barnum. Okay. Why did he love P.T.? Because P.T. Barnum, and it's just coming out now with Hugh Jackman, this film, right? The Greatest Showman.
Right.
P.T. Barnum was a showman. He was able to influence people. People from all over the world came to see P.T. Barnum at the circus. People came from all over just to see what the Barnum and Bailey brothers were doing. And where did BJ's summer house? Where's it at? Well, it's in P.T. Barnum's property development down in Florida. Still to this day, it's in a Life University Trust being preserved. But we have to learn to influence. We just must. Otherwise, we're not going to be able to help anybody.
Exactly. All right, everybody. Dr. Michael B. Dibley, where can they all stay in touch with you? You just mentioned it a little bit, but let our listeners know. This is going to be on the podcast, so we'll have all the links on there as well.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. Well, I'm not hard to find on social media. I have quite the following on Facebook, which I appreciate. We'll send my love out to all of our, I don't want to even say followers, but fellow leaders. If you guys are just coming on this feed, make sure you share it with someone that needs to hear it, feel it, be connected. So I'd say social media, Facebook, you're more than welcome to go to 360 KIROPRAKTOR.no, our Norwegian website. We're working on a new website. We're relaunching the ambassador program this month, so stay tuned for that. But you know what? Anything I can do to serve you and help you, please do not hesitate. We find chiropractors and human potential specialists for people all over the world every single day.
All right, brother. Much love.
Hey, much love to you, dude. And I want to give a big shout out to Raymond. When are you done, bro?
6 months.
6 months he's done. How long you been doing the podcast?
A little over a year.
See, a little over a year. So you got to understand, reach out to people like Raymond, too. He's been doing this, so when it comes time for him to open his practice, it's going to be so easy for him to influence, because this, what we're doing right now, this is going to reach people in a day, in a week, in a month. I mean, people in Japan are going to hear this. I can't travel anywhere anymore where I don't run into somebody and say, hey, I follow you on social media. I love that video.
That's
you
amazing.
never know the impact that you're going to have, but you got to get out of your comfort zone to make that impact. Nothing happens on your couch. You got to get up and go and start taking action. I love and appreciate you guys. Keep shining. Thanks for having me on.
Peace. Thank you, Dr. Michael B. Dibley.
Peace, guys.
We're live at the Artful Convention. I'm here with Dr. Marvin Talski. Many of you remember him from being on our podcast. He is now how many years into practice?
I'm in my 53rd year of 5-day-a-week practice. Though it would be technically part-time, because I only take care of people 20 hours a week.
Okay.
But still over 5 days.
Right, so you're still doing it. So excited for you to be here. So grateful that you came. So many of our attendees are really looking forward to your speech, and you're doing a seminar on Sunday. So what did you expect coming into this weekend? And what's been your experience so far?
So my only expectation was to be in the right mind to share.
And you're going to be speaking tomorrow.
Tomorrow, Sunday.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but your talk is going to be on the chiropractic artist versus the technician?
Something like that.
Okay.
It's a big surprise.
It's a big surprise, so we can't give too much away right now. But I'm definitely...
since
this will be coming out afterwards.
Since this will be coming out afterwards, the major theme of my talk is life is simple, but it's not easy. It requires constant effort.
Yeah.
Chiropractic is simple, but it's not easy to stay on purpose.
Right. And to stay on purpose for as long as you have. I mean, there's not too many chiropractors who are been doing it for as long as you have, with still the passion and still the desire to teach and to give back. I know, I'm just so grateful for what you've done, and I'm excited to learn from you. I haven't learned Talski Tonal yet, but I've heard Dr. Brett talk about it. And now it's being exposed to so many people that it's going to really add value to our art and then to the lives of the people that we serve.
I hope so. That's why I'm here.
Yeah, it definitely will. Dr. Talski, what would you say to docs that haven't really experienced any tonal work, or they're not really, or students for that matter? What would you say to them? But they're curious about kind of the work that you're doing, but maybe it's way against what they've learned.
Yeah, probably the biggest misconception is that it's just another technique, and that's not what it is. I think for the first time, there's a chiropractor who came to this event from Australia, a practicing chiropractor. His first name is Jordan.
Yeah, I met Jordan too.
And he introduced himself to me. He signed up for my introductory seminar. And he said, so I asked him, how'd you come here? Are you a ninja? He said, no, I never heard of ninjas. I said, well, who do you know? Nobody. So I said, well, how did you even know about this? Saw it on the internet. So I said, did you come with other Australians? No, by myself.
That's so awesome.
That was impressive to me. And so he said, I'm looking, and here's what most chiropractors say to me about taking my work. Mm-hmm. I just want more tools for my toolbox. That's what he said. So it came to me. This is another way of saying what I've said before, and that is, this is not another tool for your toolbox. This is a brand new, bigger toolbox. And that's really what tonal chiropractic is. And mostly what I'm going to be talking about in the after convention abbreviated seminar on Talski Tonal Chiropractic, I'm going to be talking more about tonal chiropractic generically,
Okay.
and what that really is, and why that's a bigger toolbox.
Right. And all the misconceptions maybe that come along with that, and really come get it from the source in terms of understanding.
I'm not the first person to talk about tonal chiropractic was D.D. Palmer.
Right.
But then it was lost for years and years.
Yeah.
And even though the concepts of tonal chiropractic were introduced before me, the term tonal was not used. I'm one of the first people to actually use the term, though Logan Basic was the first technique to introduce tonal concepts. Toughness was the first totally tonal technique.
Right.
But he never used the word tonal, and he didn't distinguish the uniqueness. And I guess the longest existing, probably the greatest number of people in tonal chiropractic are probably network chiropractors, and then MC Squared and Sue Brown's biogeometric integration. The first technique that I structured to teach, torque release technique.
Okay.
And then in 2001, I separated it from torque release technique and left it with my protege, Jay Holder.
Okay.
And I totally restructured the work and teach under my own name since. So if a principle is a principle, it should never change. And protocol really doesn't change very often.
Right.
Tonal chiropractic brings a new protocol, but technique application should constantly be evolving and refining.
I love that. And I think that's what this whole weekend is really about.
So since 1995, when I taught the technique portion of the first torque release technique, until my last seminar workshop, I did 120 weekend seminars. Up till 2 years ago, they were 2-day, 12-hour seminars. And then I added a third day, which really made the work so much more. So I now do 3-day, 20-hour seminars. 3-day, 20 hours.
Wow. I love it. Thank you so much, Dr. Talski. I highly encourage all of our listeners to come check out your work. I know they can go to your website, social media, to kind of see when you're going to be teaching next.
My website is Talski Tonal Chiropractic, one word.
Okay.
.com. I'm still getting confused between emails and websites.
Right.
So my work is cutting edge in chiropractic, but my technology, digital technology, is last century.
I think as long as you keep evolving the art, other people will deal with the technology for you. But yeah, thank you for everything that you do. I'm super excited to hear you speak, and you're going to be teaching tomorrow after the convention as well. And I highly encourage all of our listeners, if this is completely new, which if you've been an avid listener to the podcast, they've been open to it or they've learned a little bit about it, but dive into it, learn about it, and get it from someone who's practiced as long as you have.
Also, if you're into other tonal techniques, you will get much more, and you will get a deeper understanding of why the tonal technique you're using is so effective.
Beautiful. Thank you, Dr. Talski.
Thank you.
A lot of people think they need to teach a certain way so that people will like them, or there's like certain intonations and voices, or certain types of things that people need to do, and it's like, if it's not you, it's going to come off that way, and people aren't like, it's going to feel, it may not feel terrible. It's not like they're going to be like, oh my God, I hate you, but
yeah.
It's just not going to feel as juicy, right, as it could. And if you are 100% you, and again, this is why I created Muscle and Flow, right? Because it's 100% me.
Yep.
Like if I were to get up and teach anything, it would have hip hop. Like there's just no, like if I tried to teach with anything else, it wouldn't feel right, and people would be able to tell.
Right. And in that sense, like you may not please everybody, but the people that show up love it.
Exactly.
And that's like so huge.
And I think that people, that's another thing, is that people try to, they want to like please everyone, and you're never going to please everyone ever. And so it's like, if you just stick to what you can do 100% you all the time, because you can't, there's only so long you can hold up like a front, right? Like at some point it drops down, whether it's for 5 seconds or 5 years, that front drops.
Yep.
But when you're 100% you, like you don't have to drop it. Like even on your bad days, you're still exactly who you are.
Exactly.
And I think that's such an important piece, and people really feel it. You know, there's some places I've worked where they wanted me to be a little bit more like cheerleadery, and I was actually a cheerleader, so that's weird for me to hear. But like where they wanted me to be, certain, whatever it was, certain way, and I'm like, I can't. This is who I am, and
right.
If I try to do that, it's not going to work. You know, and I've seen a lot of new instructors, and people start to do that. So that's been, I think, and that was a hard lesson for me because again, as someone who had pretty low self-confidence and, to the point where I had an eating disorder and I was trying to be someone I wasn't. And, like all of that, like it took a while for me to get that lesson. And I mean, that's also that I'm older in the industry too, right?
Right.
Most of the
it took time.
instructors are like in their early 20s and I'm almost 40. So it's been a while, but.
Along that journey, was there any major steps you think that like really progressed that in terms of authenticity, or just like allowing yourself to bring down the walls and say, I'm done trying to please everybody?
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of things in sort of my family personal life where I was kind of forced to learn to stand up for myself and forced to learn to not let people, sort of dictate any piece of me. And I've always kind of been like that to some degree, but like I was, my dad was, and I didn't have a very good relationship. He was very much a narcissist and, really tried to make me feel certain ways. And it's like, it took me a really long time, but it's like years after years after years of dealing with it. Like now all of a sudden I have this like incredible strength for it.
Yeah.
But I also think just, movement itself, like that is really where I've learned, I think, a lot of the sort of characteristics that make up who I am, right? It's like you learn how to challenge yourself. You learn that it's not going to be fun and it's not going to be easy and it's going to feel like, I don't even know if I can swear, but
whatever. You can swear. Yeah, go for it.
I swear a lot, so I've been holding myself back.
Okay.
You're going to feel like shit a lot of the times. And, but at the same time, that exact moment where you feel like you're like, I fucking can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
Like 2 seconds later, you're like, holy shit, I just did that. And that is, I think, such a powerful thing. And just being in your body and learning, paying attention to what's going on. Like, I think the more that you're in your body, the more you pay attention, the more you try to challenge yourself and learn and grow and do all of those things. Like, there's no way you can't be authentic because you're listening and feeling and doing everything that has to do with getting yourself to whatever the next level is.
Yeah. And it's amazing to see that transition when you're on the yoga mat and you're pushing yourself to that point where you like didn't think it was possible, and then you go out into your life and then how that transcends in all areas and aspects of your life.
Yeah. It's really interesting. Like some of my friends always tell me, they're like, Jesus, you just like, no matter what anything throws at you, like you're just like, okay, what do I need to do? Let's go. And I'm like, I literally run hills on purpose, because they are really freaking hard and it never gets easier. And every time I'm like, oh my God, is this ever going to be over? But like, it's so metaphorical. And I always say it's so metaphorical and metamorphical. Like it really, like it changes how you view everything, like, and that's why I love movement and all, and I love to do everything. I mean, I do yoga, of course, but, I started in basketball. So I've done a lot of athletic stuff. I go from flipping tires to jump rope to agility ladder to yoga to Pilates to, like literally
do it all.
Yeah. Like literally anything I can do, because I'm just like, what what can't I do, and how do I learn how to do it? You know,
Right.
and there's certain things that I don't really like, so I just don't do them because I don't like them. And that's the other thing, right? Like if you're paying attention and you're like, I don't really like this.
Yep.
You know, sometimes it's because you're not good at it, and sometimes it's because you just really don't like it, and that's either one is fine.
Right.
So yeah.
That's what I've noticed too. I've been really just trying to like branch out, because within the Kairos training culture, there's amazing movement modules and different things that are just integrating so much. But at the same time, I still love to go to the yoga studio that's like right down the street from my house, and I got a slack line, and I'm like trying to do all these like different things because it's so fun. I've got into climbing a little bit. It's just like movement in general can just be so fun and exciting and new.
Yeah.
It's empowering for sure.
Yeah. And I think that that's kind of what gets lost in the culture of, you know, trying to go to the best gyms and trying to like, you know, have all the right clothes and like the culture of fitness and the way it is. It's not that I by no means am I saying I don't play into that. Like I do, right?
Yeah.
I teach at some of those places. I get to wear some of those clothes. Like it's not that. It's just, you can have both, right? Like you can understand what all this means, and then you can understand what this means, and you can live in both.
Yeah.
It's just, I think there's a lack of understanding of like really at the root of what movement can do. It's just, I mean, it literally has saved me from many occasions, you know, both yoga and fitness have saved me, and sports saved me. And you know what I mean? It's and chiropractic saved me.
Yeah. We'll have to jump to that a little bit. Shifting gears a little, many of our listeners, we're going to be getting ready to open up or get into practice pretty soon. Like a lot of students are kind of getting to the end of school, and some docs are they're in the field. And I know for me, I definitely want to have good relationships with yoga studios and movement instructors, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And I don't know how you guys created a relationship with Dr. Brett, but I would love to see like maybe what he did to facilitate that relationship and advice for chiropractors in integrating with movement professionals in their communities.
Yeah.
And maybe how they should go about it, and what chiropractors or people in general have done incorrectly, you think?
Right. Well, it's interesting because by the time I met Brett, I had already been doing chiropractic care. Jesus. Probably like 15 years or maybe more. I don't know.
Okay.
And I was actually already seeing another chiropractor. So I had moved to Oakland, I think, within the year prior to meeting him. And there was a chiropractor office actually downstairs in my building. It wasn't the most convenient of hours for me, but you know, it was highly rated and, you know, whatever. So I was like, it works. I liked the doctor. It was great. And then Brett reached out to me on social media. I didn't realize that's where he mentioned today that he saw me on the We Love Oakland Instagram.
Okay.
And I love them, and I also love Oakland, but I guess he found me on there, and he sent me a message and was just like, hey, I'm a chiropractor here in Oakland, and you know, he wanted to sort of get to know me and sort of understand what I was doing on social media. So I actually thought that he was, and I think he was really more curious about, you know, how to get started on social media, and because I've been doing that for a while. And so I met him and Kate, and Jax actually when he was a little baby.
Oh, nice.
And you know, his vibe was just awesome, and you know, I loved both of them, and they just seemed so authentic.
Exactly. Yeah.
Just circle it all the way back. And you know, I was already seeing another chiropractor at the time, and you know, I wasn't necessarily just ready to jump ship. I'm like super particular about, you know, like you said, like everyone has their different ways of doing things, and so it's like if I was already, you know, sort of under someone's care, I wasn't really necessarily trying to jump ship. But he was like, whenever you want to come in, just come in. And I think it was after that I actually got a very severe injury. I tore all 3 hamstring tendons off the bone.
Oof.
Yeah. Which is bad for anyone, but it's bad when your life is movement. And it was like such a freak, weird incident. Like I was running, I wasn't sprinting, and they just popped. And I actually thought I just tore my hamstring. I didn't know that was a thing. I didn't really know that you could just have a hamstring avulsion. Had no idea what that was. And you know, I was also seeing, I also do acupuncture and like the whole everything. So as soon as that injury happened, I had a video shoot I was supposed to be doing like 5 days later. And so we pushed it out 2 weeks. And so I was trying to rehab and whatever. And I think it was around that time that I ended up going to see him. I think it wasn't right then, but it was shortly after that injury. And just, you know, I walked into the office and it's such a different, again, I've been to many chiropractors. It's such a different environment in that office. And I was like, what the hell is this? I was like, yeah,
that sounds about right for the source.
This is what I want. You know, I mean, he had music playing, and I mean, I already thought his vibe was pretty awesome. And, you know, the open area, at first I was just like, this is weird. Like, someone's getting adjusted right next to me. That's awkward. And then I'm like, it's not, like, now it's just like not awkward at all. But yeah, you know, it was more through social media that he initially reached out to me. It's interesting because I think that they go so hand in hand. And I don't know that I can really speak to, because as long as I've taught, if anyone has an injury or anything, like I'm always like, you know, depending on what the injury is, I'm like, okay, go see a chiropractor, go see an acupuncturist, go see, you know, like those are
just
my go-tos. Yeah. Like, and literally I have a team. And so, and it's interesting, actually, my acupuncturist knows Brett and apparently had tried to like give me his card before, and I just was like, oh, I already have a chiropractor, I'm fine. And so he's like, oh, I introduced you to him. I was like, no, you didn't. But I think what it was is that he had mentioned him to me, and I just never put it together until later. But yeah, so they're a team already, kind of like they know each other, which is helpful for me. But I also just I like know in every area, like, you know, physical therapists and, you know, like wherever I am, because I need
connections.
to.
Yeah, exactly.
So in terms of like trying to actually make those connections with yoga instructors or, you know, studios, I would say that probably the best way is to just go take classes and, you know, talk to the owners and, you know, I think, you know, if you give them, I mean, even giving them discounts, you know, or anything like that, you know, that kind of stuff gets them in the door and gets them to try it. Like, I've sent a lot of my people to Brett now, you know, I mean, he came into class one time and I was like, so that's the chiropractor I talk about all the time. You know, and my acupuncturist actually came and took class the other day too. So, you know, there's a lot of blending of, you know, sort of, because there's also a lot of respect for what he does and, you know, what I do. And, I mean, it's a, I don't know what I would do, honestly. Every time he's out of town, I'm like, oh God.
Yeah, he's out of town a lot, so I can see that.
I know.
But I think, that collaboration is huge. And obviously that authentic relationship and kind of the feeling that you get with someone is going to be the biggest thing for sure. And I've experienced, whether it's chiropractors, whether or not wanting to try yoga, or, you know, people who teach yoga or people who go to yoga, they don't really think they need chiropractic. And to me, it's like such a beautiful blend, and like they're so important in their own unique ways.
They're so different. Yeah.
So
actually did another interview for Brett, and that was one of the questions that they asked me. And it was like, I just never, to me, I'm like, well, how could you, I don't understand how you think one goes over the other. Like, they're so different to me, like completely different. And, you know, same thing with fitness. There's so much, and I know that some people have fears of chiropractors for whatever reasons from, you know, a long time ago. But I just, you know, I always tell people, I'm like, listen, it fixes every, you know, it's what keeps my body going, you know, like it keeps me able to do what I do on a regular basis.
And it's valid. Some people have had bad experiences with chiropractors and yoga instructors and PTs or whatever it is.
Say, you can have the same thing with people adjusting in yoga, and it's like, you know, some teachers teach that way and some teachers don't, and, you know, there's a good blend, and sometimes there's not.
But to say, like, to just discredit the entire you know, thing is crazy to me. That you know, that's kind of where people are coming from. But it's fun to collaborate, and I'm excited to collaborate with the yoga community when I go back to I think I'm going back to Reno to practice. So
cool.
I
would definitely say the fitness community too, because, you know, I think yoga, obviously, like, there's a lot there too, but I think with fitness, especially because people are trying to do such extreme things now, they really need to understand what that can do to their bodies.
Right.
And I think chiropractic is a great way to sort of help them understand, like, you know, you are super out right here, and that's likely because you are overworking this and underworking this. And, you know, like, I think that understanding of your body is super helpful.
Yeah. And that conversation between sustainability and I guess why you're doing what you're doing, right? You see so many people in the fitness industry that are just like wanting, whether it's physical or whatever it is, to like, they just push, and it's like, okay, you're like trying to get like these goals, which is fine, but it's just like, what do you want to be able to do when you're 70 and you're 80 and you're 90?
And I mean, I'm guilty of that too, right?
Yeah,
like
we all are. That ego gets in there for sure.
Yeah, well, it's also just like, you know, it's such a mental release too for a lot of people that it's hard not to go that path, because you're just like, I need to clear my head. I need to run those hills. And you're like, my foot hurts or my knee hurts or like whatever.
Right.
And I'm like, it's okay. I'll just, whatever. I'll get it fixed.
Because then it ties back to that, like pushing yourself outside of that comfort zone, right? So you still want that because the amazing benefits there.
Right.
But then sustaining your body at the same time.
Yeah. And I think that that's the other, one of the other benefits of chiropractic is that it really helps you tune in to what is going on, right? Like, I'm very aware of when something is just out, when something is really wrong, when something just hurts because I'm tired. You know, like I'm super hyper aware now. Like, probably Brett's probably like, you're a little too aware. Yeah, I'm like, it's right here. Could you just? But you know, I also think that it's so helpful, because then, you know, then I know, okay, well, it's out, but I can still move, and I probably am not going to harm myself by continuing, or like, this is not a good pain, i.e. I tore my hamstring tendons off the bone, right? It's probably not good to just keep going.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think because it helps you tune into your whole body, it really helps in understanding what's going on.
Right.
And that can actually help you push more, right? Because if you know this is just a mental pain, this is a physical pain that's just because I'm sore or I'm tired, or this is like an actual injury type pain, or, you know,
right.
that kind of thing.
Cool.
Yeah.
Shauna Harrison, thank you so much
Thank
for
you for
taking the
having
time.
me.
Yeah, this has been a lot of fun. And where can our listeners follow you on Instagram? I know you mentioned it earlier. Just like reach out to you.
Yeah. So my Instagram is at Shauna_Harrison. So SHAUNA. My Twitter is the same. Facebook is Shauna Harrison PhD.
Okay.
And yeah, I teach in Oakland.
All right. Sounds good.
And
Thank you
all
so
over,
much.
actually, yeah. Thank you.
All right.
All right, TAC listeners, if you enjoy this one, head over to iTunes or Stitcher so you can subscribe to the podcast and get an automatic download of our newest episode each and every week. While you're at it, we love a review, a comment, a rating, anything that will allow us to reach more docs and more students and continue to raise the bar in chiropractic performance training. If you haven't yet checked out the artfulchiropractor.com, you can do that for show notes for this episode and previous ones, along with any of the resources that our docs are dropping. And if you haven't yet checked out the Kairos Training Culture Community Facebook page, you have to get there, send a request with a message of who you are and why you want to be a part of the group, because there are so many amazing golden nuggets that are being dropped every single day that are elevating the chiropractic performance game. So with that, I hope you all have an amazing rest of your week as always, and until next time, peace.